The Burmese army just robbed power from the elected government in Myanmar again. And in this video, I'm going to try to give a little context on what led up to this, why this is happening now at this time, and also explain my interest in this, this being a photography and a travel channel. Myanmar, or Burma as it was called before, is a country in Southeast Asia. It's bordered with China, Laos, Thailand, Bangladesh, and India. It is a beautiful country with a long and very interesting history. Some people even say it's the birth of civilization based on some recent archaeological findings, but that has yet to be confirmed. But it is a complicated history, and it's still a very complicated reality. The more I go there and the more I learn about this country, the less I feel like I know. First of all, there are many ethnic groups in Myanmar that have very little or nothing in common with each other. The biggest being the Burmese, which control the majority of the country, and the Burmese army is in constant battle with other ethnic groups because they have nothing in common and therefore do not want to be ruled by the Burmese. The Burmese army strikes hard on those who oppose them. The best known conflict is with the Rohingya people. But that's really just a small portion of the problem. The army is persecuting many other ethnic groups as well. Myanmar is a resource-rich country. That is why the British colonized it, and they ruled it from 1824 to 1948. On a side note, I sometimes hear people saying that, the British did many good things for Myanmar. Like building the railroad, for example. The truth is, the only reason why they built the damn railroad was to transport all the natural resources they stole from the Burmese people. The Burmese paid for this railroad many times over, and every other piece of infrastructure the British left behind. General elections were held in Burma on the 9th of April 1947 to form the basis of a constituent assembly that would design a constitution once independence from the United Kingdom had been achieved. But democracy didn't last for long. The military took power in 1962, only continue oppressing and robbing the people, continuing what the British had been doing for a long time. But they also isolated the country because the less contact with the outside world, the less people know. And the less people know, the easier they are to control. In 1988, there was a nationwide uprising, also known as the 8888 uprising, or the People Power Uprising. The uprising was started by students in Yangon. Hundreds of thousands of monks, children, university students, housewives, doctors, and common people went out to protest against the government. The uprising ended on 18th of September after a bloody military coup by the State Law and Order Restoration Council, the SLORC. Thousands of deaths have been attributed to the military during this uprising, while the authorities in Myanmar put the figure around 350 people killed. During this crisis, Aung San Suu Kyi emerged as a national icon, and when the military junta arranged the election in 1990, her party, the National League for Democracy, won 80% of the seat in the government. However, the military junta refused to recognize the result and continued ruling the country as the State Law and Order Restoration Council, and Aung San Suu Kyi was placed under house arrest. In the 1992 elections held with the NLD, the party who ran against the military, led by Aung San Suu Kyi, won by a landslide victory. After a few months, however, she was arrested and imprisoned for many years. The NLD was cracked down and many members killed or arrested. In 2008, despite of the Cyclone Nargis claimed over 200,000 lives in Myanmar, the military used the opportunity and forced the grieving citizen to vote and approve the 2008 constitution, and that's the current constitution, that would guarantee the non-elected military 25% of all three parliaments and would exclude Suu Kyi to be president ever again. And when they believed they had covered everything with the constitution, they finally decided to free Suu Kyi and allowed her and her party to take part in the parliament. The NLD started with very few seats for the first term. Then in 2015, the NLD beat the USDP, the military political wing, and was able to form a government until 2020. And because Suu Kyi was unable to take the presidency because of the 2008 constitution, she was appointed state councillor by her party. And this brings us to the current affairs. In the 2020 election, Suu Kyi and her party got a whopping 396 out of 476 seats combined in the Houses of Parliament. The army was not happy and they claimed election frauds, but with no real evidence. I haven't seen any specific thing they claim. They just say election fraud. More or less exactly the same they did in 1990 election. So a few days ago, the military in Myanmar seized control in a coup. The opposition leader, Suu Kyi, and most of her government have been arrested, and connection with the outside world via internet or telephone is very unstable. So why now? Why do this now? We all know the reasons the military gives for this. This is all complete bullshit. So what can we do? We can look at what's happened and take an educated guess. The newly elected parliament was due to hold its first session on February 1st, 2021. But in the early hours of that day, the military seized power before they were able to assemble, claiming that the unresolved election complaints were a threat to the country's sovereignty. The military invoked clauses 417 and 418 of the constitutions, which provides the military the power to declare a one-year state of emergency and take over the administration of the government, promising to give it back to a winner of a fair election, whatever that means. One of the issues the parliament was pushing was to make the retirement age of army personnel 65 years old, which is not unreasonable until you realize that this is General Min Aung Hlaing. He is the top general now. This is the man who rules everything. He is now 64 years old, and he is just not ready to retire yet. Also, there were talks to change the constitution so that the military would not get 25% of parliament by default, but go with the election results. Military rule would not survive that, so they don't want it. Myanmar was giving $350 million to deal with the coronavirus, handed to the government for them to use as they saw fit. Let's just say, if corrupt people would just have taken that money, they would want to stay in power so they wouldn't have to answer for that. But there are other more serious things to focus on. If the military loses power, it's likely they will have to answer for a lot of things. The killing and the persecution of other ethnic groups would probably be on top of that list. Most well known are the Rohingya people. And even that's basically the only conflict that caught international attention. It's far from being the only one. This has been going on for a long time. But in the end, who is responsible for the Rohingya persecution and all the other stuff? You guessed it, General Min Aung Hlaing. The guy, Suu Kyi, and her party want to retire, perhaps so they can have justice. Suu Kyi had to withstand much international criticism regarding the Rohingya issue. People who don't know the highly complex Burmese political ground, also their history, ethnic diversity, and etc., they will focus on this particular issue. Not surprisingly, but keep in mind that she was under constant threat from the army, knowing that they would arrest her as soon as she stepped out of line. So there were basically drawbacks for every option she took. She had to pick the least destructive path and tackle what was most important, trying to find a way to stop the military, and she has made some progress, but she had to be careful. One must learn to look beneath the surface before criticizing issues they have very little understanding of, just seeing the tip of the iceberg. Suu Kyi was placed under a house arrest for a total of 15 years over a 21-year period. She is well respected in Myanmar. The people there, they realize her difficult situation. They know she is fighting their battle. They trust her and they want her to rule. Let's take, for example, in the US, you can say just about anything you want. You can call Trump a Nazi. You can call Biden a moron, and some people are gonna disagree with you. They might even call you an asshole, but there will be no other consequences than that. But if the people of Myanmar openly criticize the military, they could disappear. At least it would have some serious consequences. So it is a good idea sometimes, before you criticize people, why don't they speak out? Understand where they're coming from. Those who have never lived, in real fear, they can't understand how it is. But why am I so interested in all this? Well, I've been going to Myanmar regularly now for a few years. I lead photo tours there, and it has become one of my favorite destinations. Seeing Myanmar for the first time is one of the most unique and amazing experiences I have had in my life. One of the most common questions I get is it safe? Is it safe to go to Myanmar? At least until now, it has been completely safe. It is one of the safest third world tourist destinations, and it's certainly safer than the US. If you follow simple instructions you are giving about no-go zones. If you do that, you will be fine. But how can you avoid the no-go zones? You can't miss it. You just can't. Tourists are safe there, even if the people of Myanmar are sometimes not. But there's always this elephant in the room. Are you really offering a tour to Myanmar? They are killing the Rohingya people. It is a dangerous place. Those are bad people. But there's a major flaw in these statements. The people of Myanmar, they are not persecuting the Rohingya people or anybody else. The army is. There is a big difference. Another common statement I hear is, well, you shouldn't visit this country. At least I'm not going to visit this country because I don't want to support those people. The fact is, by visiting Myanmar, you are supporting the people of Myanmar. You buy their stuff, you stay at their hotels, you eat at their restaurants. You are providing them with much needed income. Don't look at it like visiting this beautiful country and its wonderful people. You are supporting the military. Tourism helped enormously during the military rule from 1992 and 2011. It helped many people not only for much needed income, But it also brought encouragements and hope to the helpless. And it shined a light on what the military is doing. Tourism helped a lot in that matter. If you want to go to Myanmar, go. It is one of the best things you will ever do. But when? When will this be over? When will we be able to visit Myanmar again? Nobody knows. At this stage, nobody knows. Even with the military regime, I don't think they will close the country completely for long. But it's a guess. You never know. The people of Myanmar need help. There are actually mass protests now. And to tell you the truth, it surprised me because they know firsthand what the military is capable of. Still they go out and protest. These are brave people. The military has been stealing from them, spying on them, putting them in prison, having committed no crime, killing them, torturing them, raping them. And they have offered no protections from other criminals. The people are left to care for themselves. The people of Myanmar, they have never seen any benefits of their natural resources. They have never been in power to prosecute anyone. They are victims. The past few years have been better in Myanmar in the sense of there have been some progress. Some of the ethnic groups have been, basically left alone for a while now. People have a little more freedom, and slowly but surely, Suu Kyi and her party were leading Myanmar to a better future. There are still massive problems, but it takes time to unwind decades of military oppression and isolation. Things just don't change to the better overnight. I don't know. I'm not sure how it's best for the international community to interfere in this. They have to do it, but I don't know exactly how. Because, for example, the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, that's completely useless, at least in this matter, because China is always going to veto everything, and they have. Every attempt to condemn this, the Chinese will always veto. Also, there's some talk, there will be some sanctions on Myanmar. I guess that's something, but the problem with sanction is that's going to hit the people the hardest. The military elite is going to be fine, but some targeted sanctions, focused at the military, I guess that's possible. But like I said, I don't know, and I just hope this will end soon. So I hope you found this video informative. It's kind of sad, in 2021 that we need to be making videos like this. We need to be having these conversations, but here we are. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.